I think what needs to be done, especially for men, is for them to have the knowledge that there is help out there, and there is help especially for them in particular, and for the things that they are experiencing in particular.
To the conversations this week. We've got myself, that girl with the curl. We have my co-host, Mr. Biggz TV7. And this week we've got 1/3 of You Should Meet My Sister's podcast, Monique-Danielle.
Hi.
I'm gonna do my jingle again. Like these, I heard it already, but I'm just gonna come back and do it again. Boat to the, neat to the, boat to the, neat to the. If you don't know where I stole it from, you're too young for this show.
Yeah, don't even want to break that down. I don't even want to tell the people where they got that from.
No,
because
I'm just gonna leave it at that.
What's the cut-off age though for that? If you don't know that show, like how old do you need to be?
You just know. If you know the reference,
no,
then
because it's not like it's not it's not really something that's on like Netflix or something like Desmond's that's been brought back.
Yeah, exactly.
So
only the people who are old enough. Pre-Netflix people.
Or you had older siblings that watched it and then you was kind of down. So if you know it. I hate the phrase,
that's a bit of a cheat code then. So Monique, is that how you watch that program? We're not going to say the name of it.
I'm grown enough to have watched that myself.
Okay. Name me two of the
Wait. Before you ask her to name anything, make sure you know what you're asking her to name.
Let's talk about Q. Let's talk about Q, really. That's the only person we need to talk about. Hello! Wait. Man, looking like a mini 2-pack. Well, I never.
Wow, is that how you lot was judging Q? Wow.
In my tender age, what am I looking at Q for?
About to say, y'all would have been hella young, looking at... What was it? Anyway, Monique, welcome to the conversations. How are you?
Thanks for having me. I'm good. I'm all right. I'm just navigating this COVID life right now. Just trying to live, get through it.
You see how far my eyes are rolling back.
It's real, isn't it? Like I've never known a word to pop up throughout a whole year. Like it holds weight. The word COVID holds weight.
Yeah, I think this is gonna be like a test. Like in a few years' time, we just gonna say this word to people, and they'll be like, oh.
exactly that.
Serious? It's like fucking. It's gonna go up there like in the top 10 history moments.
Yeah, with the plague.
Yeah, that's up there. Like World War One. Like World War One's probably in the top 10 list from England. What else is up there? Fucking probably the Queen.
Just the Queen. Just the Queen period. Like which one though?
Like Henry VIII, maybe, but I don't know about.
Yeah, you gotta be a bit more specific than that, like the Queen.
Nah, like the Queen is the Queen. Henry VIII might get it still, He might get in the top 10 names from UK, but that's like,
Imagine doing an exam on this year.
Like it's a chart list.
Yeah, like that's what
Henry VIII might make it up the list still, might make it up there.
Hey, you know what Roman says? You know what? Boom, that might make it though still, fam. Yeah, that might make it boom, you get me? Now I do feel like it's been a bit of a madness. So for you, Monique, as a podcaster, how's the podcast been going, like having it during COVID?
First, it was like an excuse for us to get together because at the start of lockdown, we didn't get to see each other. And my sisters and I are really, really close. So it was actually quite difficult for all of us to handle all this panic without having each other around. And we thought about starting the podcast about a year ago, but we just never got to it. We couldn't get the funding that we wanted and stuff. But this time around, we were like, fuck funding. Let's just get together. Let's just do this. Every week we'll come together. It's an excuse to have a chat. It's an excuse to see everybody, and it's work. And it's actually kept us super consistent because we're relying on each other and nobody wants to hear their sisters cuss them out. So it's been...
Who's the worst for cussing?
Felicia.
Hell yeah.
I'm not even gonna lie.
I felt like I knew that was gonna be the answer already.
We know that already.
Like Leah cusses about everything. Like she got a short fuse, but Felicia, if you're unorganized, woo, it's worse than that. I'm disappointed, man. You're just like, oh, you know what?
You want to cry.
Let me just make it happen.
Leah just seems more like the spontaneous, at the moment, aggressive one.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Leah's the one that's going to be like, if she sees any man's talking to her sisters, like back in the day, what? Don't talk to my sister. Don't talk to them. Who are you?
It's long
That's
for everybody
energy.
in the room.
Now, Lorraine can go off at any minute. She's ready.
Yeah, she don't. You know, like when some girls take off the earrings and put the Vaseline.
She don't even need to do that.
She don't need that. To start throwing hands.
She's
to
ready.
Start throwing hands. Like,
so I can't do no wrong. Like if I even slip up, I'm getting it from both sides. So I just have to be there.
Ooh.
I have to be there, and it's in my space, so I have to make sure that everything's cool. But the last few weeks we've had to do it on Zoom because this whole tier 2 business.
Mixing of the households.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Even though it's for work, but we're just trying not to do too much if we can avoid it. But it's been fun.
Okay. Are you finding it so far doing it on Zoom?
It's not the same. Obviously, because you
used to that chemistry of like everybody around you.
You can't interact the same way, but and also they've got kids, so like trying to keep the kids out of the videos is just mad. Whereas if they come here, like they don't have that. And it's like as soon as you got to do something important, that's when the kids are like, "Can I?"
Like, as soon as you get on the phone, as soon as mommy,
like what? I thought you were in bed. So, yeah.
You're supposed to be in bed like an hour ago, so what's going on here? And your eyes look bright.
Exactly that.
Oh,
well, fair play though. At least you've carried it on because I think me, Lauren and Felicia have mentioned before in previous episodes that a lot of the creatives, they've kind of fell off during like the COVID, and not just Birmingham creatives, some of the London creatives. Obviously there's people that's shown the most. But I feel like you lot, considering you started literally near the end of the first, you lot started kind of the end of the first one, innit?
Yeah.
You've carried it on, so you know I definitely take my hat off to you three for that, because as women as well, it's got to be a little bit harder. You've got a little bit more things to do for busy schedules, so I take my hat off to you.
And I think because we all have our own creative endeavors in general anyway, working around everybody's own business has been kind of difficult, but it has actually been a bit motivating because like you said, like creatives have dropped off during this time because it's just hard on you. It's hard on your mental health, it's hard on you financially, everything like that. Like whereas you might have been working and making enough money to fund music videos and mixing and mastering and all of that stuff, like it's just not the same at the moment. So it has been at least every week when I get to create or when I get to edit the video, it makes me like, okay, what am I doing next? What am I doing next? What song can I finish? What else can I do? Yeah.
I feel like that's one of the main things as a creative, isn't it? Like it's the whole point of being a creative. Like I feel like it's like being a rapper versus being a musician, or being a singer versus a musician. Like being a creative is the same as being a musician. Like your mind doesn't stop. So
you're always creating, because you could be like, you could be out anywhere and you think, oh, that's a good lyric, or I like that melody, and then you know what I mean, and then you just go back home, do your thing, and then you come back to it another time.
And creativity just breeds creativity. Like as soon as you see it somewhere, you're like, oh, actually, this is inspiring me to do something over here and something over here.
Yeah.
I feel like that's what I wanted to kind of touch on in this episode, with Mental Health Awareness Week being last week. And I know you ladies mentioned it on your podcast, not the last episode before, I think it was.
Yes, that was a good episode.
It was very deep. It was very heartfelt. I feel like Monique definitely shared quite a lot of things. Some of the things we can get into, but that's on her. But I think I wanted to touch on Mental Health Awareness Week this week for this episode, kind of because of a guy that died last week called Josh Foley. I didn't know him, but I think he was like a event organizer. And I feel like, I don't know whether I just know a lot of people that went raving at some point, but I feel like there's loads of people that knew this guy and posted it, and I thought, you know what, it would be a good conversation to have, and it probably would have been better to have a male, but from my personal opinion, I just don't feel like there's anyone in Birmingham who's a male that would have been comfortable having a conversation, let alone having it filmed, you know, on a Zoom. With
comfortable
Lauren
speaking
as well.
about their own. I mean, to be fair, I probably know of a few guys that might, so I might ask them to come and join.
Okay. Yeah, definitely, because I feel like it's something that I can touch on, you know, multiple times. You know, like for you, Monique, how easy is it to speak about mental health with girls? Like, not even just your sisters, just females in general. Like, do you have those conversations?
Probably more so now. For me, I don't think speaking about mental health with like any gender in particular is harder than anything else. Me speaking about it, getting them to speak about it is a different situation. But I think you are only comfortable enough to speak about your mental health once you've accepted that you have mental health issues, once you've spoken to somebody about it who probably knows a little bit more than you. Because personally, I know people who have mental health issues, but and they've had them for years, but they only notice when someone else says, are you sure you're not depressed? Are you sure, you know, make that sounds a bit like anxiety. Have you maybe talked to your doctor about it? And it's only then that they snap and they're like, oh, this is why I couldn't get out of bed. This is why I was too nervous to do anything. This is why I was thinking about something that I said 2 years ago and it was like bugging me still. Like, I think it takes for you to be aware enough, and some people just aren't educated on mental health in general.
Some people are quite ignorant to it.
Our culture does not encourage people to get to know about their mental health. Like, it's kind of like they're crazy, or she's touched, or you know, or I don't. You got no reason to.
It's always like that. You start member of family. It's like, oh, you know, it's just
a bit.
You know what you like. You know,
you like.
Just, you know, it's just Auntie Bev. Just, you know what she does.
Exactly. And you'd be looking at them thinking.
That one's a bit too close when you say Auntie Bev. I have an Auntie Bev.
Oh, sorry. Apologies to anybody that has an Auntie Bev. Not all Auntie Bev. Just put that there. You know, okay, Auntie X then.
Thank you, you know.
But you'd be looking at them truly as a child, thinking, this person's actually crazy. And then you get older and you're like, oh no, this person's just going through it, like actually going through it.
Do you feel like
when you get older, you hear about their life and what happened to them through the course of their life, and you're like, right, everything makes sense.
Do you feel like maybe that's what we're missing in like so like the Black culture, like what Lauren just says of when you find in the Caribbean culture, you kind of not the adults, but the older generation don't really divulge into certain people's
it's like
life
mental
stories.
health don't exist with them because their generation is just sort of like get on with it.
Yeah.
Because like, they've been so much like parents, grandparents that have been in the army or was, you know, in the war or things like that, or going through Windrush generation of grandparents. They came through a lot, so it's like, you know, the bigger times of racism and things like that. So they're just thinking, we get on with it.
Yeah.
But
you know what I mean?
The funny thing is, like, okay, so a lot of them will be like, nobody needs to know my business, first of all.
Yes.
First of all, nobody needs to know my business. I don't need people knowing that I've struggled, whatever.
Yes.
I've worked really hard to keep this facade that everything's cool, so why would I come and bring it up? Unless you literally go to them and ask them, hey, how was it when you came over here? Or how was it? Or someone in the family slips up that, oh, actually, did you know that this happened? And you're like, whoa, oh, that's why she's so angry. Okay. Exactly. Or they're like, you know, some family members just be like bare rude, or they drink a lot, or they smoke a lot. And that was their way of dealing with their mental health, because they didn't know that mental health was a thing. It's just like, I'm struggling, I need an escape, I'm going to go drink, sort of a thing.
And I think a lot of the time in Black culture as a whole, we tend to see things probably like mental health or being vulnerable as a sign of weakness.
Yes.
So we're just like, nah, I'm good.
Do you feel like men kind of get that stigma attached to them more than women? Do you feel like maybe that could be, and not just Caribbeans, that could be like most men, hence why there's more male suicide rates deaths than there is females? Do you feel like that could be a component?
I think if you look at it, I think it's men and black women more than anything. I actually think it's men and black women, because black women have been given this title of being strong and enduring, and men are also given the title of being strong and enduring, of like, you know, we don't show it. And I think women are maybe just a bit more talkative between each other, so maybe they share a little more, whereas men, they're like conditioned to be like, oh, if you show any type of emotion, you're weak, you're being feminine. This is something that, you know, you should be able to handle this. Be a man. And, you know?
All right,
and
so as modern day women, for the both of you, has any partners in the past ever kind of brought up like them having mental health issues, or borderline thinking that they could be getting it?
I've suspected it before, and I don't think any man has ever come to me and been like, I think, but I have come to them and been like, have you maybe thought about talking to somebody about this, or have you maybe connected this thing that happened in the past to your behavior now? Because to me, it looks like that might be where that comes from. And it's only after you open the door for them, they're a lot more open about it. Yes. But that depends on the mindset, because I've had different experiences where I've opened.
I was just about to ask that question.
Yeah, like I've opened the door and the person's been like, now I have a safe space to talk to you about this, so actually I'm going to open a little bit more. But then I've had the opposite situation where a partner is literally just like shut down completely, because just literally, and I think that's more from being, because he was a bit like picked on for being too emotional. So he just learned to put this barrier up, and then just did not know how to bring it back down again. Okay. And that was it. Like, even if he tried, he was like, I don't actually know how to connect how I feel to something that's happened. I just know, like, if I feel upset, then I don't want to feel upset anymore. So I just do something to stop myself from feeling upset, instead of, if I feel upset, I'm working through whatever it is. He didn't put his feelings and the cause to the feelings together at all. So, I think it's difficult, especially if you don't even have the language to explain how you feel.
Yeah, you're not sure how to articulate it. It's true.
Yeah. It's hard to speak and not feel weak, especially when you don't have the words, because then you're like, okay, I don't even feel emotionally intelligent enough to discuss how I feel. So what's the point?
And then you get more frustrated. And then, like, if you have things like anxiety, that are going to make you more anxious about it. Me and my friend were having that similar conversation. It's like when somebody with non-mental health asks someone with mental health to describe how they're feeling, and you're like, and you feel stupid because you can't find the words, like, I don't know. But then it's like, I have a friend and she also has mental health, so then she could say to me, oh, I'm not feeling it today, and I know exactly what she means by that, because I could say the same thing to her and she knows what I mean. But to someone else, what do you mean? What are you not feeling? Like, are you not well, or have you got something wrong? But you just know.
Yeah.
You just know what it is.
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that. I feel like that's probably where the education for everybody needs to come about. Like, if somebody says, I'm not having a good day, you can ask, like, what's wrong? And if the person divulges, then they open up. But if they just say, I don't really want to talk about it, it's kind of using the knowledge to know they're going through something that they don't want to really want to open up about right now. So I feel like that's what's missing. And I feel like, again, I'm kind of swaying over to the men. I feel like in women, that's why I asked both of you, have you had any ex-partners? Just because, do men open up? Because I don't think, like, many men open up to other men. Like, I'll be somebody that any of my male friends can say, yo,
Biggz, let me ask you the question then. So if you was feeling a certain type of way, do you have any specific friends that you could go to, like male friends, to talk to about that, or that you would feel comfortable to talk to about that?
I'm gonna say no.
And not family members? No, actually, let me scratch that because your family is hella big, man. Forget it. Everyone's your bloody
All right. If we're definitely excluding family, I'm definitely gonna say no. I don't feel like there's any male in my phone book, non-family. And again, like even if you was to include family, I feel like the only person that I probably could speak to would be my dad. And not because he would understand mental health. I feel like because he's a pastor and a man of God, I feel like that's how he would show me support. Obviously, as my dad, but his support would come from that. But
Right.
I don't think so. I feel like, I don't know. I think it's kind of a weird one, to be honest. You know, there's from Josh Foley that died to Declan Sullivan, who died last year. There's men that died from suicide in Birmingham. But I just feel like, and every man will say, yo, rest in peace to my friend, such and such.
Yeah.
But, like, was you there, though? Like, could a man reach out to, and this is why, for me, I find it a bit heartbreaking at the same time to know that someone's died from suicide, knowing so much people around him have said, yo, rest in peace, yo, he was a good guy, that was my friend. It's like, because I've had it, like, I've had that point where, like, this year, like, I can be open and honest and say, since when did my leg really go? Okay, I've been suffering from my leg problems for about 5 years, but it went last year January. So since last year January, I've been facing difficulties when it comes to mobility. But when lockdown happened, as you would know, Lauren, Monique, you probably know a little bit as well. Like when my leg went in May, I haven't been the same. Like this is why my conversations are filmed on Zoom and not face to face, because I don't have that mobility. And and there was patches where it was like, I'm getting better, I'm getting worse, I'm getting better, I'm getting worse. And it's like, yo, I'm finding myself in a state. But because I work in mental health, I kind of know the signs. But I still don't think I have personally anybody who I can call, because you don't just want to call somebody for the sake of it. You kind of want them to have a little bit of
history. Yeah.
Like, because otherwise, as you said, Lauren, it kind of sounds a bit like, what? Like, what do you mean? Like fix up, man, up in it. So I've had that. Yeah, and then when people say, "Oh, it's not that bad," bro, you don't see it from my perspective. It's a madness. So everybody's got their own reasons on how mental health affects them. But yeah, I would have felt like 2020, especially after George Floyd, I thought like a lot's going on, and at the same damn time, it's like, you know, when they say God gives his strongest battles to his strongest soldiers or something. Sometimes like, yo, God, allow me now, allow me.
Give me a break. Let me have a minute.
Yeah, let me just recharge. Then you can throw the demons and devils at me. But sometimes it's hard, man. And I feel with Josh passing away last week, that one touched me in the fact of, I've got a funny feeling there's loads of men, because it's under 45 is the biggest killer, suicide.
Yeah.
So it's like in the UK, it's like 6,500 deaths per year. Like to some, it might not sound like a lot. Like 18 men dying every year might not sound like a lot, but I feel like how much are not.
But that's just from suicide.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So I feel like mental health is a big thing, and I would like to, I'd like to tell Mandem, obviously, like, yo, Mandem, like, you have to know yourself and know what's going on and know what you have to do. But I feel like it's the women as well. So I do agree with what Monique says, that it's possibly men and black women, because I do feel black men and probably even Indian men, because they're probably their culture is quite similar to us as well. Yeah. So I feel like for the Indian women and the black women, you've got a lot to take on your shoulders. But I feel like it's also on the women to identify, as Monique says, but how do you, if somebody closes the door on you, if they shut the door on it, how do you then pick at the layer for them to help themselves? Because most of us who are black, not black, sorry, Caribbean culture, usually deal with anger when it comes to expressing mental health or first signs of mental health. I feel like it's anger, it's aggression. And I feel like as a woman, you have to probably know a little bit more, so you know your man is going through A, B, and C. I'm not saying I'm putting it all on women, but when women are clued up, then they know. And again, they can also pick and choose what man is more suitable for them, because you might see signs of somebody acting a bit out of pocket and be like,
but then
okay.
that also goes on the woman's own knowledge and education as well, because if she's clued up to mental health, then she's going to be able to spot the signs. But some women that aren't, or some people that are still unfortunately ignorant to these things, they're not going to be aware how to pick it up, and that's going to exacerbate their whole relationship.
This is it. Like I find that maybe more so men, in my experience, tend to express hardship through anger, like just naturally, because they've learned to funnel the feelings of sadness into an angry space, because it's more masculine to be angry. And sometimes it's difficult to know whether that anger is genuine anger or whether there's a sadness beneath it. And I think it takes education and empathy, and women just tend to be a little bit more empathetic in general, and a little bit more, we watch a little bit more, you know, we pay a little bit more attention to what's coming, like what's caused this, you know, what's like, where's this really coming from? And I think when you make the point about Indian and Black heritage, I think that part of that also is because of how strong our religious background is, because a lot of us are always told, if you're going through it, talk to God. If you're going through it, talk to God. And then you're kind of then repelled from talking to people, because every time you say to somebody, oh man, I'm having a hard time, they're like, go pray. It's like, I will go pray, but also like,
I want to talk now.
I need to talk now, and I need to have an outside perspective, because when you know, when you pray, you have your own relationship with God, but you don't get a response the same way that you do from another human being who's going through the same sort of a thing. I wanted to ask you, Biggz, do you feel like you don't have somebody who you can call when you're feeling like, if you felt in a way, is that because you're worried about their response, or is it because you just feel like you're not happy to open that up?
No, I'm pretty much an open book when it comes to everything, and I feel like I'm the type of person that I don't like saying things that just fall on deaf ears. So that's why I said, if I divulge like how I'm feeling at the time to somebody, I would like to like recollect that they have some sort of understanding of not what I'm going through personally, but just how your mental state can be affected, how little triggers can trigger you off for different reasons. I feel like that's the most important thing of opening up to somebody and saying whatever you're going through, whatever the episode may be. I feel like that's what is missing, because I can phone any of my friends or even male cousins, but if you don't understand, then, or if you don't have the empathy, as you says, Monique, it's gonna fall in deaf ears, and I'm not gonna open up and talk things. And one thing as well, I'll have to admit, I don't know if it's for women as well. Yo, nobody wants to open up to somebody and have anything thrown back in their face at a later point, if it's an argument or disagree. Yo, no, I'm not here for it. I'll catch you. I'm not here for it. I'm not here for that.
We'll fight.
So that's where the empathy is a big thing. It is a big thing.
Yeah, definitely.
I do think that that's a lot of the reason why people don't talk about it, though, because they've tried in the past and then they have had something thrown back at them, or somebody hasn't been receptive to how they feel. Like when my mum died and I tried to talk to people about it, they were really just like, I don't know what to say, or like, it'll get better. And you're like, that's the last thing I want to hear is it'll get better. Actually, maybe I just want to talk to you about something. But at the end of the day, there has to be a certain persistence from the person who's suffering's side. They have to really want to stop feeling that way, or they have to really want to understand what is happening with them. Like, you have to be, sometimes you have to get to the point where you're struggling so much that there's no other choice but to talk to somebody about it. And it can't always be I had to learn the hard way that it can't always be your friends, it can't always be your family, because sometimes they are just not equipped to have those conversations, especially if they're going through the same trauma that you are, because most of us share our trauma with our siblings at the very least. Most of us have been through, you know, a lot of the problems that we have mental health wise stem from childhood, and a lot of that is gone through as a group, you know. So it's not always easy like I can't go to my sisters every time I feel bad, maybe more so now, but when my mum first passed, we could hardly talk about it without, you know, falling apart individually. So I think you know, the person who made me actually go to therapy was my nan.
Okay.
And my nan is like, she can be real African, I'm not gonna lie to you. She can really be like, what are you complaining about? Like, I've had to work hard and you're out here complaining about being sad, like relax. But when she
relax.
the first time I went home after losing my mum, I went to uni for like a term and then came home. And because I was alone, I hadn't dealt with my mum's death the way that my siblings had and my family had, because they were all still together. So when I got back, I was like crying every time they said my mum's name. And and then I got more like, you know, bad news about it, and it just exacerbated the issue. And my nan was like, have you noticed that you're the only one crying? Like, have you noticed that everybody else here is able to talk about your mom without having the reaction that you're still having the reaction that you had at the funeral, sort of a thing. And I was like, I did not notice that. I've been repressing it probably for to get through, you know, my studies. And she was like, you know what, I think that you need to go and see somebody. And it just took for her to say that for me to be like, you know what, yeah, actually I do think I need to see somebody, because I'm now recognizing that my reaction I am grieving, but it's not normal compared to everybody else's. So it's something that I need to, you know. And sometimes you have to know that the people around you might not have what you need to help you, but then it's not always that easy for everybody. Not everybody has that nan who's going to say this is an issue, right? I think what needs to be done, especially for men, is for them to have the knowledge that there is help out there. And there is help, especially for them in particular, and for the things that they are experiencing in particular. Part of what makes it difficult for a lot of us to go to therapy is because we know we're going to go to therapy and not see somebody who looks like us, who's experienced what we've experienced, who we can relate to, standing across from us. I don't know many young black men or young men in general who want to go sit with an old geezer, and talk to them about their roadman problems. Do you know what I mean? I don't see that happen. Like, do you know what I mean?
This is what
like, man came to me with a thing. I didn't know.
Like, you know, because I didn't really want to get involved. So it had me feeling some type of way.
Like, you can't have that conversation. I hardly want to go to an old doctor and tell him about my physical health problems, because I don't understand, let alone somebody who, like, I totally understand why, like, a young man, if I went to my brethren now and I was like, you want to go to therapy, and he saw some greasy old man who's been doing it for years, he might be like, I don't really know how he's going to understand my issue.
What I'm going through.
So I think what actually needs to happen is probably more young men need to get into mental health work. Because it makes it more accessible. Like, it just makes you feel like, okay, maybe I can get my guard down a little bit, and this person might be able to relate to me in a way that I'm more comfortable talking to them. I think that's it. More men need to encourage it
in our peer groups anyway. Like, obviously as men, we need to encourage that, like, you can come to me, and not that thing where, like, oh, you know, if you want to talk, just holler, man. No, it's not that. Like,
you know what?
You are going through it. You know, I am here for you.
You know how much people say that. You know, like, even in conversation, when you meet somebody and you say, hi, how are you? You actually don't give a fuck. Realistically, people see it as like, hey, how are you? As like a common courtesy, like common gesture in a conversation. And it's
or that
like,
thing that when you're just talking to someone, like you might see someone like, oh, you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What somebody
you
says,
break it down like,
no.
Are you all right?
I have said no. I have said no. This is the worst thing.
I've said no to someone before. Like, no.
I've been like, now you know, I'm actually going through it. And the way that people's faces are like, oh, fuck.
What?
Why did I ask?
That's where I am. That's where I am today. If I genuinely ask somebody, are you okay? I don't want to hear, yeah, I'm cool. I kind of need more than that still. I want
more of a confirmation.
I'm going to ask you again. And the second time, it may be for a text message, but I'm saying it with bare chest. Like, answer the question.
Bare caps.
Like, sometimes I want to hear, like, if that's the case, I'm going to tell them again, Lauren. Tell them. They never heard.
Okay, AY as well.
Yep, the full word.
Yeah,
that thing there. Because I feel like that's what's missing. Like, we're saying things in gesture and we don't mean it. Like, as I says, if somebody says, yeah, I'm good, sometimes ask them again, are you sure? Because it comes to the point where I'm not saying the generation now needs to be sensitive, because I think every generation is more sensitive to certain issues than the previous, which is good. But I still feel like if 6,500 men are still dying each year from suicide, that's a lot of men, and that's a lot of women. Like, if you're talking 6,500 men, like, that's a lot of women who have to deal with that, like, of losing somebody. I can't imagine what it would be like for a woman to lose a partner. Like, that's got to be you got to be in a state of mind now where now you may need counseling if there's kids involved. So
or a son, even like a mother losing a son. Like, imagine being the mother
that your
son didn't feel like he could talk to. Like, that's a mental strain on everybody left behind in general. Has this mental strain of, I wish I would have, and maybe that needs to be something that is a little more of a shock factor to everybody, of like, stop being like, I wish I would have, and just do it. Like, go and talk to people.
Like that phrase, like, give people their flowers while they're alive.
Yeah, exactly. And not just use it as the phrase, actually be like, you know what, I think that stories like the one you've been talking about, like stories of young men taking their lives, like, I think should be enough I think the conversation should be evoked. It should be enough to make people be like, you know what, actually, maybe I need to check in on my brethren, you know, maybe I need to actually say, like, you lot, like, if you do, you know, and I know it's difficult to believe if you need to talk to me, because everyone said it so many times.
Yeah, and it's just everyone's blasé with it.
Yeah, but I think there needs to be that, like, paragraph of like, guys, look, man, I know this time, especially now, I know this time is hard, and I know, like, we all bust jokes and that, but if there is anything going on, like, know that you can talk to me, and if not, like, here's some spaces where you can go and talk. And sometimes it takes for the person to be like, I've been using this, I've been going to therapy, I've been using this, it has helped me, and if you lot need it, there it is.
Obviously there will be, you know, those one or two people that might be like, you man are moving wet, or what are you? You know what I mean? But then it's like, front back right at them. Are you trying to Pac-Man over mental health? Are you?
Like, that's as Monique was talking, Lauren, that's all that's going through my mind. Like, I would like to do a test, but I would like to do a test of all the male fucking text WhatsApp groups that I'm in. Like, throw it in there. I man them. I'm going through such and such right now. Need help, and see everyone's response and attach it to this video. Obviously, block out everyone's names and whatever.
Yeah.
But I just feel like the general consensus would be like, Lord, fix up, man. And
and then I think a part of it is automatically going to think that it's to do with a gal as well. And be like, oh, what, you gelling for you? Or you don't want to gal? And you're just like, no, I am sad.
Some of the women though, like Birmingham women, like, some of you like need to know that you like are major triggers for some man, you know. You know, when I hear a man them saying, I love her blood, yo, I'm done with her blood. Like, I know for a fact that man is there by his phone, like,
hurt.
Like, waiting for a message.
That's another thing though, like, men will go on, like, you've been in a relationship with a woman for however long, could be a week or a year, could be 5 years, 10 years, and then you break up, and then no matter how long it is, y'all act like nothing ain't happened.
It's because you don't have issues expressing yourself. That's the reality.
You know, like it's okay to be sad. You broke up, you with that person for a time, you loved them, you cared about them, whatever.
Lauren, it's not a case of it's okay to be sad. It's okay to be wrong. It's okay to know you kicked your girl to the curb, but big man, you love her. Like she does things for you. Man, them's not doing.
Yeah,
man, them's not going down on you.
Yeah, what man them give you the £2 wings and chips?
Why is that your example of what love is? Man, them's not going down on you after gym and that. Like, is that what makes people heartbroken?
That's what it was. That's where the love was.
I'm saying for women.
Jeez.
For women, ladies, I'm going to end this because I feel like we've got so much more to say, and I just feel like there's a part 2 that needs to come. I wanted to keep this one short and sweet because the paracetamols and ibuprofen that I'm on are really running out. I ain't had my dinner yet, so you know how it goes.
Got my painkillers right here.
Oh wow! Okay, like that.
I thought there was tea in that cup. It was a lie.
No. I got 2 beverages. Tea is finished.
No, we know the truth. Thank you, Monique, for pointing it out. I can't wait
got my glass ready
for the weekend to begin. I know there's a party over there. I know.
Just gonna be a nice
socials. Where can they find you?
Oh yes.
So Instagram is official Monique-Danielle.
Mm-hmm.
And you can find me on Spotify and YouTube under Monique-Danielle.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Yes,
Don't smile like that.